Hello, my name is Joshua Mugabe. I welcome you to Behavior in Living Organisms, questions 6 to 10. Question 6. Outline the characteristics of innate behaviors. Part B. Briefly describe the different forms of innate behaviors. Part C. State the advantages and disadvantages of innate behaviors. Outline the characteristics of innate behaviors. Heritable. These are encoded in the DNA and passed from generation to generation. They are intrinsic. They are present in animals raised in isolation from others. They are stereotyped. They are performed in the same way each time by each individual. Inflexible. They are not modified by development or experience. Consummate. Fully developed or expressed at first performance. Unintelligent and automatic. Part B. Describe the different forms of innate behavior. We have the reflex behavior, a simple automatic response of the body to a stimulus that involves no conscious control. For example, pull a hand away from a hot surface. A baby feeding. A horse tail swatting at flies. Reflexes enables bodies to respond quickly to a stimulus, protecting them from harm. Escape reflex involve involuntary responses which follow a specific pattern in response to a given stimulus. For example, the earthworm withdraws underground in response to vibration on the ground. Orientation behavior are coordinated movements like walking, flying, swimming, and so many others that occur in response to an external stimulus. These behaviors have adaptive values for survival by helping the insect locate or avoid the source of a stimulus. Kinesis, a non-direction orientation behavior, where the rate of movement is directly proportional to the intensity of the stimulus. For example, The woodlice move around rapidly and randomly when exposed to light until they find a better condition. Then they stop moving or move slowly. Taxis, a directional locomotor response to a given stimulus. For example, fly maggots move away from light source. It is a negative phototaxis. Part C. State the advantages and disadvantages of innate behaviors. Let's start with advantages. Innate responses are generally rapid. Organisms can react quickly to their environment. For example, the earthworm quickly or rapidly withdraws into its burrow away from danger. 2. All animals of the same species will have the same set of behavior patterns. All animals of the same species will have the same set of behavior patterns. Innate behavior suits species that have short lifespans. They don't have time to learn behaviors. It suits species with no parental care. It suits species with a solitary lifestyle, as they can't learn behaviors from other members of the species. Fixed action patterns can be adaptive, increase survival chances of the organism, limiting the number of neurons in invertebrates with less developed nervous system required for a particular response. Let's look now at the disadvantages of innate behaviors. They are inflexible. Nature does not permit the organism to adapt to the ever-changing environmental conditions. They do not benefit animals with longer lifespan, since the behavior is short-lived. Number 7, define learning. Part B, using relevant examples, state and explain the various forms of learning. Define learning. Learning refers to the organism's ability to modify behavior based on past experience. Using relevant examples, state and explain the various forms of learning. Habituation. This is the continuous repetition of the stimulus, not associated with reward or punishment. Extinguishes cessation of any response to the stimulus. For example, birds learn to ignore scarecrows. It is important in development of behavior in young animals, helping to understand neutral elements in the environment like wind movements, cloud cover, and many others. Classical conditioning, conditioned reflex. Here the organism learns to associate a conditioned stimulus, for example, ringing of the bell, and any unconditioned one, for example, sight of food, to produce a response, like for example, salivation. The organism therefore not only produces a response to the unconditioned stimulus, but also to the conditioned one, even in the presence of the latter. For example, birds avoid eating black and orange cinnabar moth larvae because of the bad taste, and also avoid all similarly colored larvae even when they are nutritious. Operant conditioning, trial and error learning. Organisms try out experiments in its environment. Responses are enforced by other rewards, positive, or punishment, negative. Association of the outcome of the response in terms of reward or punishment increases or decreases future responses, respectively. Associative learning efficiency increases with repetition. Note: classical conditioning and operant conditioning constitute associative learning. Latent exploratory learning. Organisms explore its environment, not for an immediate satisfaction of its needs or for an immediate reward, appetitive behavior, but rather acquire information that may be useful at a later stage, hence latent. For example, in mice, knowledge of the immediate environment of its burrow may help it to escape predators. Insight learning, highest form of learning, uses information previously learned from other behavior activities, recall of the past experience, to solve problem never encountered before. It involves higher centers of the brain and intellectual abilities like reasoning, knowledge, cognition, thought are prerequisite. This form of learning is perfected by training and rehearsal. Imprinting, simple, specialized, genetically determined form of learning. It occurs during receptive periods in the animal's life. Young organisms begin associating and identifying themselves with other organisms, usually a parent or a large object. For example, goslings and ducklings, deprived of their parents, would follow man. One they would substitute as parent. Imprinting enables organisms to rapidly acquire skills possessed by parents. For example, learning to fly in birds. Number 8. What is the importance of the following form of behavior to the survival of the organism? Part A, territorial behavior. And part B, courtship behavior. Let's start with territorial behavior. Territoriality reduces both intraspecific and interspecific competitions for resources as an organism defends its territory against invasion by other organisms. It ensures adequate spacing of the mating pair of organisms and their offsprings to receive the available resources, that is food and breeding space and many others. It minimizes the spread of diseases and parasites since the territory overpopulation is avoided. Fighting is highly ritualized, minimizes injuries, and a weakened male usually retreats without sustaining a lot of injuries. Ensures freedom from interference during bond pair formation and mating. Genes from the strong organisms, all the fittest, are passed to the next generation. Promotes the passage of superior genes to the next generation and elimination of inferior genes from the population. Territories are defended by using signals, reduces the chances of fighting, controls population growth, and promotes scattered population distribution. Let's look now at the courtship behaviors. Appropriate courtship displays, they stimulate the organism to sexual activity. There is synchronized gonadal development, enabling gametes to mature at the same time, ensuring successful fertilization at the time of mating. Brings about bonding between the mating pair. It allows rise in the level of reproductive hormones and thus promotes sexual maturation. Synchronizes organism to produce offsprings in the right seasons. It induces mating of individuals who accept each other. It is used in isolating mechanism, preventing different offsprings from interbreeding. Courtship enables organisms to recognize each other as individuals and avoid aggression. Brings both mating patterns to reproductive readiness simultaneously. Maintain distinct species. Suppresses negative tendencies like avoidance of body contact, escape behavior, or cannibalism. It minimizes breeding between different species. It synchronizes the time of producing offspring with the availability of food. It leads to the rise in the level of reproductive hormones. It is important in the preparation of nurseries. It ensures that members of the same species find each other and mate. For example, at dusk, different species of fireflies flash distinct light patterns. However, female fireflies of one species respond only to those males exhibiting the species-correct flashing pattern. Animals advertise their willingness to mate. Number 9. Distinguish between the following: tropism and reflex. Part 2, instinctive behavior and learned behavior. Part B, state the advantages of a learned behavior. Distinguish between tropism and reflex. Tropism is a plant response. Reflex is the animal response. Tropism, movement is due to growth. Reflex, movement is due to muscular contraction. Tropism, response is slow. Reflex, response is rapid. Tropism always involves movement of the plant parts. Reflex occasionally involves the movement of the whole organism. Tropism, direction of response is related to the direction of the stimulus. Reflex, direction of the response can be unrelated to the direction of the stimulus. Tropism is influenced by growth substances. Reflex, influenced by impulse transmission. Distinguish between instinctive behavior and learned behavior. Instinctive behavior is inborn and not acquired during the animal's lifetime. Learned behavior is acquired during the animal's lifetime. Instinctive behavior is genetically inherited. The learned behavior, not inherited, but the ability to learn is inherited. Instinctive behavior is intrinsic, that is, also present in animals raised in isolation. Learned behavior is extrinsic, absent in animals raised in isolation from others. Instinctive behavior is inflexible, is not modified by development or experience. Learned behavior is adaptable. It's capable of modification to suit the changing condition. Instinctive behavior is intelligent and automatic. Learned behavior may be intelligent and intellectual. Instinctive behavior is stereotyped. It is performed in the same way. Learned behavior is permutable, can change over time. Instinctive behavior is permanent despite of the minor modifications. Learned behavior is temporary and short-lived behavior, although reinforcement can make it less or more permanent. Instinctive behavior is consummate, that is, fully developed and expressed at first performance. Learned behavior is progressive, subject to improvement or refinement through practice. Instinctive behavior, only one stimulus is required. Learned behavior involves more than one stimulus. Part B. State the advantages of the learned behavior. 1. Flexible. Benefits animals with longer lifespans, and so there is time to learn. It permits modification to suit a variety of changing conditions. Benefits animals with elements of parental care of the young, which involves learning from the parent. It benefits animals that live with other members of the species for at least a time, for example, herds and packs. Number 10. With examples, explain what is meant by a fixed action pattern, FAP. Describe releases as they relate to animal behavior. Part C. Distinguish between a reflex and a fixed plan action. With examples, explain what is meant by fixed action pattern. Fixed action pattern is an inborn behavior response triggered by a very specific stimulus, which once initiated continues until completed. Each fixed action pattern is triggered by a unique stimulus known as a sign stimulus or key stimulus, or if it is a signal from one individual to another, it is called a releaser. Examples of fixed action patterns includes the toad capturing a grasshopper prey. Releaser is any movement by the small-sized prey nearby object. Because a toad can starve even though it is surrounded by dead insects, because it cannot recognize non-moving animals as prey. Describe releasers as they relate to animal behavior. A releaser is any sign stimuli that provokes behavior response, innate or stereotyped. For example, the male sticklebacks attacking anything red, including other male sticklebacks, during mating season, when their own bellies were red. Chemical signal. For example, pheromones serve as important releasers for the social insects. The mammary glands of the domestic rabbit mothers emit pheromones that release immediate nursing behavior by their babies' poops. Male robin defending its territory will repeatedly attack a simple clump of red feathers instead of a stuffed ribbon that lacks the red breast of the males. Hailing gull, red spot on the beak, triggering infant feeding response. Urine in dogs serves as a sign for avoidance of the territory. Female digger wasp behavior must run course once triggered. Black gulls, on identifying white eggshells pieces, prompt eggshell removal. Distinguish between a reflex and a fixed action plan. Reflex, simple motor action, stereotyped and repeatable. Fixed action plan, a complex motor act, involves specific temporal sequence of component acts. Reflex action elicited by sensory stimulus. The strength of the motor action being graded with the intensity of the stimulus. Fixed action plan generated internally or elicited by the sensory stimulus. The stimulus acts as a trigger, causing release of coordinated motor acts. The action may be all or nothing, or graded in intensity. It may be contingent on the type of sensory stimulus or internal state, but it maintains the basic pattern. Reflex, the stimulus may not require the brain activity, but instead may travel to the spinal cord. Fixed action plan may be processed in the brain as well. Reflex, particular stimulus evoke the same response. Fixed action plan, response to a particular stimulus can be modified by experience or precise conditions. Thank you very much for participating in behavior in living organism. Questions 6 to 10. Please do like, share, and subscribe.